anybody, we can pull that up, but I think we're good.
Okay, great.
So, yay! Let's get started. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Carrie. Are you still in Tasmania?
I am. It is bright and early in the morning here. So yeah. I'm on Sunday. I think you guys are on Saturday. So yeah.
We're living our future.
Yes. Yesterday was great. You're going to love it.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that.
You already knew, right?
I did already knew that it was going to be great. So what we're going to start with, well, this is just going to be kind of a big conversation because we have Carrie over here in Tasmania across the other side of the world. And we have my friend Frank and Trina here, for those of you who haven't met. Actually, I think this is the first time Trina and Carrie have met face-to-face, so to speak, even though they've been talking on Facebook. So,
it is.
Nice to meet
you.
Ladies. More proof that you can co-create anything with anyone, and there's no need to have known them for a certain amount of time or any of that stuff. So I love that.
Absolutely. So we have a couple of things that we thought it would be fun to talk about today. And one is Trina and Frank have both manifested each other in this really loving, unconditional, open relationship. And, or I don't know if I should have said open in that particular order there, sorry. Not putting words in their mouth. And open.
Open to the possibilities.
Would be a good word.
Easy.
It's easy.
Easy relationship.
Yeah.
And then the other thing Carrie brought up was a big part of that story of the manifestation here was Trina connecting with me and with a couple of other people and on Facebook, and then with Carrie in the secret Facebook group. I guess I should explain that for the people that don't know. About a year ago, I decided I wanted to have a place where I could talk to my good Abraham friends, whether they be local or international, and feel safe sharing the kind of things that I wouldn't want to share on Facebook just for anyone to see. So I set up a secret Facebook group, and that's been really neat because we have a fair group of people there now who have been talking back and forth for about a year, and it'll be active for a little while, and then it'll go down, and because if there's nothing that people want to talk about, and then it'll be active for a bit, and then it'll go away. So Carrie had mentioned talking about leveraging that kind of community, that kind of Facebook conversations and such for manifesting your dreams and what it is that you want.
Right. And
yeah.
The fact that your invitation to some close friends to go wherever they wanted to go with on that particular web, what do you call it? Not website.
Group.
Yeah, that group, that Facebook group, was basically open to go wherever we wanted, right?
Yes.
So that then nudges us to go a little farther, and that then becomes a catalyst to something else, to something else, to something else, to something else.
Exactly, and I love that this interview is happening today, and yesterday we had a whole new amazing thread started in that Facebook group where someone
can everyone hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
I just came on, I saw your thing on Facebook. I was like, I'll check it out. It sounded a bit appealing to me. So is it like 3 of us on this right now? So
it might only be 3, but there's probably people that'll join later. Yeah.
That's fine by me anyway. So I just wanted to So I'll put myself on camera. I'll put myself on camera so you guys can see me. 1 second.
Okay.
I didn't have to work this thing. When I came on it was like I don't know what to do with it. So no, I'm good at computers though, but this just had my mind now. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, so go ahead. Yeah, there we go.
Go for it.
Who is it?
This is Harms, right?
Yeah, Harms.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, Harms. It's HARMZ.
Another person that I only know from Facebook so far.
Carrie, I met Carrie though. I met Carrie.
Yeah,
right?
I think
On the land in Mexico. So I met her, but I don't think I met you, Rebecca. So.
Cool.
And then nice to meet the people that I know and the people that I just
I'm Frank.
Trina.
Nice to meet you. I'm sure we will meet. I'm sure we will meet. So like when I go to Cancun next year. So yeah, it'll be all right.
Excellent. Here, let me see if we can see you too. Okay. Oh yeah, we can see you now. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. Your camera's working.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it looks like a charm now. Isn't
All right, cool. So yeah, that secret group has gotten a whole new momentum and a whole new topic and new thread, and it's just been really cool. Carrie, since you brought up that topic, is there anything that you want to say in that direction since we're there?
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, I just love that. I mean, any tool that's going to help me to basically see where I am, and a little bit of what Frank was mentioning, where, you know, for some people it might allow you to be more open or more willing to share something a little further outside of what may be the perceivable comfort zone. For me, whether it's a secret group or not, I'm pretty out there. I'm pretty open. I mean, people are going to hear this conversation today, and I know some of where it's going to go. And so once it's said and recorded. And so for me, I think that that's very liberating. I find that that helps me stay true to who I am and stay perfectly fine that whatever I've said on Facebook, in a group, secret, public, or in a talk like this, it really is me in that authentic moment. And it's just a moment in time. You can shift your perspective later. Anything that you've said then bridges into the next thing and the next thing. And so to me, what's very valuable is to use a tool like Facebook for that leveraging purpose, because I didn't know, you know, Trina, and I'm sure at some point we'll get into a little bit more of the juiciness of the conversation, but just being able to hear someone post in the group, basically, you know, I'm experiencing this, and this, and we'll see what's about to happen. And then with the chiming in and just saying, you know, here are some thoughts on the topic of relationships, or on, you know, really aligning. It just really reflects back to each one of us. To me, it does anyway. Just what I'm saying, where I am in that moment, what my true beliefs are. Because if I just happen to walk into Starbucks, sure, I could manifest this conversation with a stranger, but here in this type of environment, you're really knowing that the people have the same basic fundamental belief system, right? So they know where you're coming from. And so you can begin to bounce ideas back and forth and explore things. So that's what I'm talking about when I would say leveraging. And I think it provides so much clarity, and it really points us each in the direction of exactly what we're wanting, exactly what we're going for. And when people chime in, it just begins to show you all of the possibilities. We might feel like celebration, but then everybody puts in topics, and you either feel, oh yeah, I'm on board with that, or you feel a little bit of adversity to it, and it's all clarification, and it's amazing, very powerful.
That word leveraging works really well.
Yeah, it does. That's good. So shall we start by having Trina begin at the beginning of the story and tell that?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I about 23 weeks ago, my marriage ended, and I went on this little adventure with myself to decide who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up, and fall deliriously, intoxicatingly in love with myself. So started dating myself, hanging out with myself. And in the course of that, lined up with Rebecca, wanted to have a little Skype call with her. Had never met her, had only seen her on Facebook, and then we'd done that Mastermind Makwana together. And was just really intrigued, because I did know that you had more than one boyfriend, and I was curious about it and didn't know anything about it. So messaged her, and she said sure, and we talked for about an hour and a half. And it was delightful, and she did push me some
Carrie.
Yeah. Who's this?
I think we just had Miles join us.
Hi, Miles.
I know, I can't hear it either. Let's see.
Okay, hang on.
We kind of see it.
we kind of see. Sort of kind of see.
So I don't know if you're going to be able to see Reba and I. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
We can hear you and see you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
All right. So go ahead, Trina.
So we had that Skype call, and I guess at that point too, it pushed me outside of my boundaries, and then she gave me permission to post whatever I wanted in that group, which was very freeing, because there was some things that I wanted to talk about which I knew that I sort of had activated some sexual energy, and I didn't want every guy on my Facebook on an invitation. And so I went through today and reviewed some of those posts. So I was just really interested in being with myself, and then what a different kind of a relationship would look like, and what was possible in terms of relationship, and mostly that I was really feeling satisfied with myself, but missed cuddling and sex and some of the physical aspects of it. I think that was the conversation that Carrie and Annika and you jumped into the most. That was lots of fun, and Frank chimed in. So, and it did, I did feel really supported and really free in whatever direction it was. And I really felt like any chiming in was really just what you said, feel for the resonance and feel what felt good to me. And I didn't really know exactly what felt good. Like, I was in a real space of sifting and sorting and being curious about what was going to light me up, and considering the possibilities of, was it going to be, one person that was going to do that? Was it going to be multiple? And really that I just was so grounded and settled in myself, but also wanted to explore those kind of areas. That's one of the.
Okay.
Cool. And then
Frank's going to tell a little bit of this story. Well, Rebecca did message me when I woke up the next day after the Skype call. I had a wonderful message from her saying that I could have a wonderful date with myself, that I could use her apartment in Seattle and come and have a date for myself. And there was a little bit of back and forth. Frank and I had been friends on Facebook, but never spoken, never met each other. And I think that how that happened is about a year and a half ago, I did a little exploration where I looked around for aligned men and wanted to see what they would look like. I just wanted to know if they existed, sort of thing. And so I had gone to yours.
Yours actually pointed a little bit.
Big radar.
No, big halo.
That's it, a halo.
Riding on a unicorn.
That's fun.
So I'd gone to Rebecca's, and then, so I had about 3 or 4 different men that sort of queued up for me, some thoughts about that, and friended them just out of the random blue. I mean, I was still married. I had no idea how any of this was going to unfold, but it sort of gave me some hope of something different. And I'd also written in my journal a little story about what my life would look like if I was in the relationship I wanted. Forgot about it. I mean, I just found it recently, but I'd written it about around the same time.
How long ago was this when you wrote it? How long ago? Like, so you.
It was about 14. It was about a year and a half ago, April of 2014.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was very much like I was in it. Like, we were in the kitchen cooking, and we twirled me around the room, and it was just that. And then there was a few characteristics, but it wasn't really a list. It was more of a imagined
how it would feel.
Yeah, how it would feel and what it would look like, and no real specifics around looks or any of those things, just the energy of how I would feel. And so anyway, we were friends from that, and Rebecca mentioned that she was having this barbecue for me on the Saturday, and that probably I could get a ride with Frank because he lives nearby. So that sort of queued us up, where we messaged each other back and forth a few times, and that was really the extent that we knew each other. So
what I think is interesting about the Facebook group, or groups plural, is, and all the thousands and millions of people that are in Facebook, you only line up with the ones, you line up with a lot of them, but in different ways. And I know right before the Caribbean cruise, I had friended, I don't know, a bunch of people that were Abers that I thought, well, maybe they're going to be on the cruise, and it'd be nice to connect some faces. Carrie and I had met before, and a few other people from different parts of the country, Miles and Reba, of course. And then I started to see these people on the cruise ship, and it was kind of fun. Oh yeah, you're the actual person. That's
the actual person.
You're not just your Facebook avatar.
Right, you're not an avatar at all.
I know, when I went down to Seattle for the barbecue that you had at the house, people say, "Oh, you're that Trina, right?" It was like I all of a sudden felt like I was famous.
Oh, wait, hey, I know you. It was like, hey, oh wait, I know you. Oh yeah. And then you touch the face, and you're like, yeah, it's real.
That's fun.
So when Trina and I met, it was the interesting thing was that there wasn't any expectation. I didn't know her background. I didn't know her. I really didn't dive into her Facebook page or whatever all that stuff is, and which is really fun, because having no expectations is actually an enlightened way to meet somebody new.
Very freeing.
Very freeing, yeah.
Well, and that's what Abraham touches upon in a lot of the live events, is that everything goes so well when you're at the events and you're meeting everyone and you're, hi, I'm so-and-so, and they're, hi, I'm so-and-so, and then it's all hi and great and wonderful, and then you're like, tell me about yourself, and Abe's like, no! Unless you're willing to tell someone about the highest, best part of yourself, you're really doing yourself that disservice, right? And I love that part, that you can really...
What should you say then? So if someone like says to you, you're in the changing rooms, say if you're at the gym or something, someone's like, so tell me about yourself. I'm at an event, so like, no, because I've never heard Abraham say that, but it just came up now. So obviously you've been to the recent workshops. So what do they say exactly? Say nothing at all, or?
Well, they say it very jokingly that as soon as you tell someone about yourself, to me, it's implying that most people are going to answer that from their past. They're going to answer it from where they've been, what they've done, what they've experienced. And many people don't take the time to filter out what you don't want of your own story and focus on what you do want of your story. So in the mass culture, telling someone about yourself might include some of the basics, like whether you're divorced or not, or whether you've been through this or that. And those aren't really your focal point. I mean, if I were to tell someone about myself right now, it would be, I'm on an amazing adventure in Tasmania. I'm exploring. Last week, I was all over the island somewhere. Next week, I don't know where I'm going to be. The week after that, I'm meeting people I've never met before in Newcastle. So to tell someone about myself, I guess it would be, I'm here right now. I'm fresh. I'm open, I'm interested, I'm authentic, and I'm a free spirit. But that's not the way most people are going to answer if someone says in a dating site or anything, well, tell me about you. It's all that, well, I was married for this, and that didn't go well. Such a low vibe.
It goes into that lowness. I know you're right. So right.
In the direction of where you're going and what you're wanting, to me, that sounds like what Frank is sort of alluding to. He hadn't gone through and checked everything Trina's ever posted, which even if somebody does that, it's still just old news. Well, however I was yesterday is already so old for where I am now, especially if you're moving quickly through high vibrations. It's moment to moment. The things that I would have thought were the highest level of expectation yesterday might just be basic, normal, subpar almost today, because it's really fast and it's a constant movement, more.
You're a day ahead.
What was that?
You're a day ahead of us anyway.
That's right. I'm a day ahead anyway. I'm only expecting more than I was in this moment.
It's like tomorrow. It's like today your Carrie version 1.0, then tomorrow your version 2.0. So
yeah.
Going on and on.
I think people need to. I think it's a good thing to remember as you're interacting with people. It's not them who determines how much they're going to know about you. It's you. You guiding it towards what you want to say. How do you want to represent yourself and carry yourself?
Maybe
I'm
tell a
getting a
lie.
message that my internet connection
No,
might not
lie,
be.
but...
So far, so good, Carrie. It's working.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And so to me, I don't know. Those are the things I'd love to hear more from Trina and Frank. But to me, it sounded like Trina had already done that. She in her sharing right now, it was, well, she was married, but then she very quickly began talking about falling in love with herself, dating herself, the value of herself. Focusing on that vibration is totally different than, I'm divorced, what do I do? I'm single, what do I do? It's very different. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that both of us talked the last couple days about what the first 2 days that we met were like, and we don't really remember all the things we talked about, but we know we didn't talk much about each other's past. We hardly knew anything about each other. I mean, even about like his job or my lack of a job, or I have 4 kids, and I don't even know, I'm not sure that by the end of Sunday, he knew that I actually had 4. So
Yeah.
it all just fell out as it did. It wasn't something that we ever really talked about. And we talked a lot about where our life was going and how we were living it right now and what our desires were and what lit us up. And there was even a couple times where one of us would talk about something from a past version of us and the other one would go, is that really a story that you want to tell? When I was at I remember talking about my ex and him like, you really think you want to give some momentum to that? And I'm like, no, you're right. So really soon we were able to talk with each other, which was so fun because it didn't feel I didn't feel bad. I was like, oh, thanks. Because sometimes you just go there without even meaning to go there. And it, especially in a date, it wasn't really a date. I mean, really, it wasn't. Like, we ended up meeting Rebecca for dinner, and he got a phone call, and she asked if I liked him, and I had really not thought of it yet. I mean, I just hadn't. We were just having so much fun, and I was so in the moment. But she was, I think you were a little surprised when I said he likes me, because I really hadn't seen it that way.
It's so obvious.
She said it was so obvious, and I just was like in love with myself and not really paying much attention to that part of it, which was also really fun because I had no expectation, I had no condition, and all through the whole weekend we were both just free. We both felt really free to be with each other or not. And even when we parted ways, you know, sometimes in relationships you feel like you want to jump on them and like define it and nail them down, and there was no energy of that for either of us. And it just, I mean, we walked away not knowing if we'd ever speak or see each other again, and then it did. But that was,
and even a week or two later, my mantra was still, I kind of like you. Let's see how it goes. And that, I think, as trite as it seems, that's really the best way to carry on a relationship, a partner type relationship.
Well, I think it's really valuable to mention or just highlight what the portion of what Trina just said. So she went out, she had an amazing time. She was so in love with herself, she didn't notice that other people were also loving too. And that's such a powerful point to be in. Say that?
It didn't seem either. It felt completely normal for her.
Exactly. And so much so if you stay in that point of, I'm loving myself, I value myself, this is the experience I'm having, this feels good, and focused on yourself, then you are naturally going to have that reflected from the others around you. And that's so different than how many stories have we heard of women or men then asking the person, do you think he likes me? Do you think she likes me? Would she like someone like me? Do you think I'm good enough? It's such a different vibe. But we've heard both of them. I think it's really nice to hear that fresh perspective. I loved myself on this non-date, and therefore I was receiving love from others. And that if I wanted to turn into something, I can allow that. And if I'm not interested, but I'm just playing with being loved, then that's fine too. That's really nice.
So if you love yourself, I guess you'll attract someone that loves you as well. I mean, like, if you love yourself, you're going to attract a partner that loves himself as well, right?
Yes. And he's relying on you every moment to say, you're good enough, I do love you, it's enough, you're good as you are. I mean, all that stuff is so much energy to try to support someone in loving yourself, and it's never going to work. They have to do it on their own, and we have to do it on our own, and then we can bounce that, kind of like two mirrors, just reflecting back to each other. I love myself, and therefore my love is going to bounce towards you. You love yourself, your extra overflowing love bounces towards me, and you've got that mirror of love and affection. It's very different than the models that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of saw it as, because I mean, there was a question I asked in the Facebook group about, if I love myself so much, then why would I need a relationship? I mean, other than the obvious of the sex part or the physical connection part, but what would that be for? And I think when Frank and I have talked about it, we came up with, well, mostly I, and I think he agrees with it, but came up with that it's like the expression of my relationship with my inner being in real life. And so it's sort of like how we were source energy and we came into a three-dimensional space to mix it up. That's how I see it with us. Like, we mirror that for each other and play in ways that, yeah, we could do that with ourselves, and it's still fun, but it's just amps it up. It's just a little bit different in the physicality of it that I really like. And I liked the idea, you know, when I told people that he took me to the fountain and the Ode to Joy played, and some of my other friends that aren't Abra said, oh, did he pay someone? And I mean, the presumption was that song showed up because it was about him and I, and maybe the song just showed up because of me. Like, you know, I mean, maybe it was just because I'm so in love with myself, and it really had nothing to do with that, because we create our own reality all the time. Interesting how that was sort of the interpretation. And I never once felt that. I mean, even the clicker, I never really, the clicker didn't work, and he was excited that I came to his apartment. I never really noticed any of it. I was just so in it. And anyway, you can tell.
Well, there's dozens of little stories about how things, synchronicities have happened between Trina and I. And I think it just goes back to that premise that if you're in close connection with your inner self, those kinds of things are going to be popping up all the time. That is really the universe reflecting back and opening things. So you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship to do that. Of course, anybody can go there on their own. But there's something about a relationship that sort of, like the 1 + 1 is more than 2.
Right.
And there's a amplification that happens inside of a relationship.
That's really interesting that you guys both use the word amplification, because I have just been reading, I think it's Bruce Lipton's Biology of Belief, and he has a couple of...
I read that awesome book.
Yeah, he has a couple of presentations on the honeymoon effect, and in the presentation, he showed why the amplification actually happens. And it is an energy thing. When you have two waves in the water, when they connect, they will either cancel each other out or amplify each other, depending on how they're synchronized. And so when you have people, it's the same kind of thing. You meet with someone whose vibration is complementary towards you, and it amplifies both of you. Or you can meet someone whose vibration is the opposite, and then it takes both of you to a really flat level.
Cancels.
It cancels it out. So that's really, really cool.
I love the connections between biology and physics and
Me too.
And Abraham's teachings.
So do I.
And for me, for example, yesterday we went to Columbia Tower because I had found out that it was higher than Seattle Center, and I really wanted to go do that. And when I was thinking about wanting it and wanting that preference and sharing it with Frank, I knew how many levels it was going to light him up. Like, he loves maps, he loves architecture, he loves being a tour guide and showing me fun things. He loves sharing those stories about his time of living in Seattle, and such a different thing. Like, I am so lit up when he's lit up, and that's so much fun. And I think about sometimes in other types of relationships where you want the person to do what you want to do just to be with you, but they're not really lit up because they don't get to do what they want to do. And so and then today we went and got that Mini Cooper because that's what I really wanted to do, and drove around in it for the afternoon, and it was so much fun. And I'm sure he had lots of fun, but it was really something I wanted to do mostly for me.
Well, it was mostly for me.
There you go. We both have the same story.
Amplification.
It is so much fun. And also, I think spend some time checking in with ourselves around, so we want to be together. Is that okay? It sounds silly, but just how do you keep your focus on you and still invite that other person to dance and play with you? And that has been an interesting thing to push myself. If he just, it's not like I play with it a lot, but if he did make a different decision or we vibrated away, we both know that we would come out at the other side still perfectly happy. There might be a dip, but we'd find our way back, and such a different way to live than you could. And so I really like that. I think it's really fun.
And I like to point out something for the record, because the way Trina said this, it sounded as if her and Frank together decided, well, why do we have relationships? It's for the mirroring of the inner being back to each other. But Trina and I had this conversation even before she posted on Facebook that question. And she was telling me, if I can be as happy without somebody, why do I need a relationship? Well, because it sounds like fun. It just seems like it'd be a lot of fun to have that intertwining, right? And so the fact that she had already come to that decision point and had that vibration active in her, I'm sure was a very key piece to meeting someone that mirrored that belief back as well.
Yeah, and it was a weird thing because I thought, where did this come from? I sort of said to the universe, not so soon. And then when I went back through the post for this interview, I was shocked to see how much energy I did have active around that type of relationship. And when we went through the journal, when I read the journal to him, what was that like for you when I read that thing that I'd written in 2014 to you?
Oh, where you were describing the guy that might fit the bill? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know you back then, and I don't know why you kept talking about me.
It exactly was. It was just so much of what I wrote down to him dancing with me in the kitchen. There's just so many things that were
and the thing about a relationship that's really in harmony or in resonance, where two energies are in resonance, is you don't even realize that it's happening. You don't think about,
because it's easy.
And it just seems to come naturally.
Yeah, true.
I'm pouring a glass of water for myself, so I pour a glass of water for her, and then I hand it to her, and I was just thinking, I'd love to have a glass of water. I didn't think, oh, she wanted it. It was just a natural thing to do. So
it is just fun, and fun. It's lots of fun, and we finish each other's sentences, and not because we've been married for 50 years. We just have the same thought. Sometimes I'll let him finish an entire sentence, even though I have the same sentence, so I can see how close it is to the sentence I had, because it's just so fun. Like, it just really is. It's just so neat to be in it and watch it come up. And I think one of our fun things was all the details that we never put into words. Like, there were so many things that he opened the door for me. There was just these really cute little things. We eat almost the same amount. We like the same kind of food. There's just fun little things that came from contrast that I never really put in. So leaving the details to the universe, letting it surprise and delight you, it's just...
And just knowing how you want to feel.
Much. Yeah, knowing how I want to feel.
Exactly.
And I had a real energy around being cherished right at the time. Like cherishing myself and then being cherished. And that was really the energy. I feel like that all the time. So that's really fun. And
that is so cool.
It's so fun. So fun.
So I think it's interesting. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
I was going to see if Frank was going to tell more of a story, or if that was what you were going to say at that point.
Well, I guess, it's sort of in a nutshell, what I didn't have any expectations about a relationship. I wasn't particularly looking for a relationship. I just wanted, like always, I want to hang out with people that have a similar vibrational frequency. And that does happen in the Abe circles. But I think that we all have a frequency, and and Miles actually talks about this, the Princess and the Pea routine, where you start to, when you're really dialing in what you do want and what you don't want, you start to get a little bit particular, and maybe without even knowing it, you start to vibrate at a certain frequency that's rather specific. I don't know, this is the first time I've actually even said this, but maybe we are operating at frequencies that are sort of specific. And when you do reach resonance with somebody, and you do have that the vibrational coming together and causing the amplification, it's I don't want to say rare, but it's because it can happen anytime if you adjust your vibrations. I'm really rambling now. But thank you for thank you for motivating that.
Well, just to expand on that a little, when you have that vibration, when you sense or feel that vibration, all vibration already exists in all that is. So you have the vibration in you create the resonance in all that is, and the universe sends it back to you based on your focus and your emotion. Mm-hmm. So the more open or allowing you are, then the more life is going to come back to you in a way that you go, oh, that's a synchronicity. Oh, that's a synchronicity. And all it is really you're meeting yourself. As Carl Jung said in 1905, all you do is go through your life meeting yourself in 10,000 disguises.
You know what you just said there? That's actually like my point in time now in my life. Like, when Abraham used to say how you feel affects everything, it's like now, when you actually know something, like, know it, it's so like vivid in that sense. What you just said now, it's always you beating yourself up, it's always you, your own enemy, you can be your worst enemy, or your best friend. So
yes,
that's good.
I love that.
Well, I like the idea that really the universe is reflecting back to us, our the highest version of who we are, and I think that's when the openings happen to meet other people that are in that same point of openness. And Carrie said that too. That openness part of it is really essential.
And I really loved that Trina had brought up, hey, I was going through the thread for the Facebook group just now, getting ready for the interview, and I put more things together, to me, I talk about this a lot because I found it extremely valuable to go back whenever I have a big manifestation or something that just seems to be working out for me. I like to go back and think about, and it's one of the reasons I journal so much, is, oh, this was my vibrational point of attraction on this day. And then look, on this day, I've clearly shifted. And that was the day that this thing happened. And then, oh, look. So then being able to put the 2 and 2 together and say, oh, look, I got happy, and then this amazing lover showed up. I got happy, and I got money. I got happy, and then this happened. So being able to identify that for yourself, because you've lived it, so you know what it felt like. So now you know what to reach for the next time. That's, I think that's hugely valuable.
You know, I think it's fun to think that I also had other things. So I lost a lot of weight and really found a new body and a new alignment with my eating and my beingness. And I'm not going to say I didn't do anything, but I really didn't do anything. Like, I just went and got happy. And
when you get happy,
and did what felt
you're
good.
in the vortex, and everything that you want
And
shows up.
I absolutely believe that it has nothing to do with food. It has to do with the vibration that you're in when you eat the food.
Boom. Yep.
100% absolutely. And I move my body when I want to, how I want to, but mostly I just really do love myself. I mean, and I'm just delighted in it. And so it's still going down, and my clothes still don't fit, and it's just really, really super fun. And now I got him adding momentum to it. So
it's like, you know, back before, like, I think some people would say, you know, you shouldn't love yourself too much. I mean, that was the old cliche that I used to hear in my life before. But now it's like, really? Like, not love myself? You know, that's just, my source will always love me no matter what. So
Now
yeah,
it sounds ridiculous, right?
it sounds like
It sounds ridiculous.
love yourself too much.
sounds like the heaven and hell thing, you know, like when I first heard it, I was like, what? Like, really?
That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Yeah.
to go back to what Rebecca just said moments ago, basically about reflecting, going back and looking at your writing, to me, these are all of they're not something you have to do. They don't fit for everyone, but someone who's taking the time to do that, if it feels good, and it definitely does for Rebecca, and it's effective for her, it's basically intentional, powerful introspection. It's reflection in a targeted way. It's not looking back at what went wrong over a timeline, which is common for some. It's looking back at what went right. Here's where I was. Here's that next natural step. Here's where I was. That created what I wanted. This is that next natural step. It's going back and saying, there is my power. Every step of the way, I've been gaining power and clarity along the way. If in any moment in time, I'm not feeling my own power, or I'm not feeling that I'm a creator in the way I want to be, or that I'm not deliberate enough, let me look back at several of these things that have happened and just show myself the evidence that I've created for myself to see. Because people who want evidence have been asking for evidence and receiving evidence. And then they can either use it and leverage that for more of what they want, or they can kind of leave it there as, you know, that's where it is. And so I think that that's really valuable as a strategy for people who are maybe journaling in a different way, like the old-fashioned journal or diary, to kind of say everything that happened in your day is not that power. It's diluted because it's everything. And you instead are writing in the targeted part. This is what I appreciated today. This is what I know I want more of now that I didn't realize I wanted more of with this amount of desire before. And then here's how I know I can find that or allow that.
You know, and a really powerful technique that I found for that is the first hour after I wake up. And I noticed that I'm really in a close connection with my spirit. For one thing, I probably recorded 2 or 3 dreams during the 5 hours or so I was asleep. And then when I get up and I make sure that I put myself in alignment before I even move my little finger, and then when I sit in the chair and open the keyboard and put my hands on the keys, I used to like to write with a pen, but it comes so fast now I can't keep up. So I just put my fingers on the keys and it pours out, because you're so connected, so close to your spirit. In that first hour, we'll call it an hour of power, where it just, it's so powerful that it's like a flood coming into your day. It will literally carry you through your day.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I love that perspective. And thank you, Carrie, for pointing out that just because I do it and it works for me doesn't mean anyone else needs to do it. I know I have a very evidence-based mindset, and I mean, I'm trained as an engineer, so I think differently than the average person anyway. But what works for you is important. And I just like hearing you say that it worked for you. And I'm like, yay, it worked for me too.
I wanted to also, I mean, we've alluded to it a lot, but not everybody heard or maybe even read the thread that we had. And so I had pulled it up on my phone because on May 16th is when Trina had originally posted. And that was the first time I had, really met Trina online. But so she went through her whole post of her marriage ending mutually and the things she was moving in the direction of, what her intention was. And there was a part in there where she said, basically that she said, at times I do miss connecting with a man in the physical sense, cuddling, companionship, sex. I know Abe says everything we want is because we believe we will feel better in having it. So, okay, the physical connection with a man will feel good. It's not a need, but a want. And then Frank was the first person to respond on that thread. And I think that these are the fun things like you're talking about to go back and notice. And so Frank said, I've experienced a recent breakup also, and I'm really feeling good about it. I'm so into nurturing the vibrational state of love that I'm in and always will be, in that I hardly need a partner. But the cuddling, kissing, and sex, I do miss. Any thoughts on physicality when the physical presence is not at best? And then I chimed in, not knowing, I knew Frank a little bit, not knowing Trina at all, but from where I was in that moment, then I'll give a little bit of extra background in a moment because I have some things I'd love to throw out there and hear your guys' take on. So I said, in short, the pleasure I allow my body is not conditional on relationship status. I'm here in this physical body to enjoy unlimited well-being, and physical pleasure is a part of that. I tend to my alignment and follow all impulses from there. There is no reason to miss out on anything when everything one desires is available in abundance. And so those were the three things. Trina's right there saying, this is where I was with a relationship ending, and here's my intention and my focus. I've got this, and this. I'm missing some physical stuff. Frank chimes in, I broke up. I'm feeling great about it. I'm missing physical. For me, I am technically single, although I'm going to tell you in a minute that I don't feel single at all. And I had my partner transition. And so for me, my chiming in about the pleasure I'm going to allow myself not being conditional on relationship status is because with that perceived loss of a physical partner, there was this essence of, I've got the mental connection. We talk all the time. I've got the emotional connection. He's guiding me and supporting me all the time, but there's no physical body in that bed next to me. And so where is my physical going to come from? And I had to reshape my beliefs to allow myself for where I was feeling in love with this person still emotionally, but they're gone physically. And so what am I going to allow myself to do? And basically nothing would have fit in my belief system. Like I was going to be apparently like a
sad
widow for the rest of my life. That didn't sound or feel good. And so I had to, I chose to reshape my beliefs to allow myself to have physical fun and to not feel like I was doing something that was misaligned with my belief system. And so it was changing the beliefs so that the behavior could then match up. And so I have more to say on that, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about that, kind of that little interweaving of the three of us in that part of the conversation. I think was really unique.
Well, I do think that
I was crazy.
energetically there are no accidents, and so when things start to line up, then there's momentum there from the beginning. And I'm not one to jump into too many of the Facebook threads. So
you mean you only jump into the right ones?
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel the same way. I'm only commenting sometimes. And right. There'll be very interesting reasons why I would even be on Facebook when they were posted. So I don't remember what was happening when Trina's was posted, but I do remember that for yesterday's post, normally, I'm in Tasmania, I'm on vacation. I would not be actually getting on Facebook. I got on Facebook yesterday for the really poignant post that Rodney had posted because I was uploading a video to share with you guys the piece of the environment around me. I had taken a morning video of the birds chirping in the view and was uploading that. And then the new post with the big conversation had popped up, and so then I responded. But so I think we are guided to be there at the certain right time, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I'll have you I set very strong intentions for that secret group at the very beginning that this would be the case. So good luck bucking that current.
Perfect.
I just find it so amazing that we're calling it a secret group on what's probably going to be a public video. Like everyone's like, what is this secret group and why am I not a part of it?
Hey, have you heard of the secret group? Oh, yeah, I know about it.
Yeah, I thought about suggesting that people who are interested in that create their own, because it was really just, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a Facebook group or whatever. It's just finding a way to connect with people that you want to be more connected with. And
Yeah.
the Facebook secret group was the best technical solution to what I wanted at the time. But it doesn't really matter. It's just finding a way to connect at a deeper level that I was interested in and that anyone can do with their own friends, their own connection, whoever it is that you want to spend more time with if you don't have time. Our meetup group right now is running into capacity issues. We have over 1,000 members, and we have in Seattle, those of you who haven't been here, we have a lot of lakes and bridges, and it can be quite difficult to have a meetup on the opposite side of a bridge and have people show up. But then we have a group that's so big, we have people in all of the different neighborhoods here. So if we have a meetup on the north end and people from the south end don't get to make it, and then, I have been consciously putting some intention around that recently. How do we connect more of these people together? Anyway, so that there's going to be some cool stuff coming around that. But yeah, so that's the secret.
Oh, that's exciting, Rebecca. I can't wait.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. Any more to the story?
Well, we did go through and read the post this morning, and we both laughed and giggled at the fact that he was the first person that posted back. I mean, I think part of what's funny is it seemed like I had a lot of amped up sexual energy, and I had talked to John Wei Wang. I had a little Skype with him about the connection between loving yourself and being open in your sexual energy, and Carrie might have more to add about that, but I definitely would say that they were connected. And I did teasingly say to him, the reason you were so excited to meet me, because I put that out there, because though he's sort of anti-man, meaning he's not all those things that I think of as a man, I still heard it.
Well, and I wanted to add that part about sexual energy. Men have a habit of thinking that every kind of connection, every kind of vibrational connection with a woman or maybe a man, but generally for me it's women, and you feel connected and you feel aligned and you feel this and you feel that, and somehow the mind always comes around, oh, it's got to be a sexual connection, and it really doesn't. There's really all kinds of other connections, like Trina had said about other people that she's connected with over the past several months, and so I really didn't necessarily have sexual energy turned on, but I acknowledge that it's there, and I think it's there for most people, and it's a way of coming together. But our society has a little bit of a twisted story about that, so it sometimes gets some relationships maybe off onto a track that it doesn't need to go on, but.
That's why we're the pioneers for new types of relationships.
Leading edge.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah. And I don't think it's a big energy, but but obviously, because you asked and I hadn't even really gone there, and it was just a sweet kind of unfolding that really, there's definitely passion, but that wasn't the only thing. It was the whole day of just epic conversation and connection and just feeling good. And that's what we both said to each other. We were both in a place where we did what felt good. And if at any point it didn't, I mean, the first night that I spent at his house and woke up the next day, I looked at him and said, okay, I'm going now to play with my inner being. And he knew what I meant. And that was just delightful. And so it was just easier and easier to hang out with him when he got it. So,
and you're talking about 100% alignment instead of just sexual alignment.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yes, that is true.
Do you feel like, 100% alignment, like when you look at a certain thing, it's kind of different, like when you look at, like, for example, something that you found like you wanted in like a relationship or in a partner before, but when you look at it from a place from alignment, it's like it completely changes your perspective, Like it's like I wanted someone like this, and it's quite particular. It's more to do with maybe looks, but then when you get into alignment, it's more like personality sort of thing, That's what I kind of find.
Well, also, when you're in alignment, the way that somebody physically looks to you is more pleasing aesthetically anyway. Everybody looks better when you're in your own alignment. The people around you are more physically pleasing to your eyes because you're seeing the best parts of them, the most vibrant aspects of them, the highest level of their energy. I mean, everyone looks more beautiful by day 4 of the Abraham cruise. You're like, wow, look at all these gorgeous people. Where did they come from? I mean, it's just, it's a wonderful thing. And I think what Trina said a few minutes ago, of course, I don't know Trina, so and even if I did, I'm not going to speak for someone else. But I think the point of women in our society sort of being taught or led to downplay their sexual energy. Because when I read any of Trina's posts, even that post where Trina's referring to it as her own amped up sexual energy, I didn't interpret that as amped up sexual energy. I interpreted that as basic human needs. You know, when a baby comes into the world, if we're not cuddling them and loving on them, they will have failure to thrive. I don't understand how we got so far off track that we expect men or women to live as isolated individuals, not acting on their sexual impulses just because of their relationship status. I think it's basic human needs. And so I think,
I like that. That's a good
I don't
point.
know about the amped up sexual energy thing, but I think that there's just a difference between valuing your own pleasure. I prioritize the amount of affection and love and cuddling and all of those things. I mean, if my own pleasure is not a priority for me, why should it be for my partner? I mean, the same way that you have to love yourself first and then you meet someone who loves you, you have to prioritize how you want your body to feel as well. And then have someone that can come in and just knows and is guided and has all of those inspirations that a person is looking to receive. And for women, typically sexual energy is receiving energy, allowing energy.
That's really cool. Thank you for pointing that out. I've been discovering a lot of that recently too, and that how much I had, without realizing it, dampened parts of my sexual energy and found a safe space to explore it, but not in my entire life. And so, yeah, that's really quite interesting. And I also like that you had pointed out people look differently when you're in alignment. Because I have had a number of relationships over the years where I am so thrilled with the way my partner looks, and people outside of me are like, really? I'm like, yes. Oh, holy shit, yes. And it's because it affects me completely differently than it affects them because of
it's funny what your opinion looks beautiful will be different to how someone else perceives to be beautiful, you know? So like everyone says, it always is in the eye of the beholder. So
exactly.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Right, and that idea that we're seeing the world through the eyes of Source kind of helps to describe that. Is we're all beautiful, we're all radiant, we all are just glowing with tremendous energy. That if you can see that through the eyes of Source, everybody is beautiful. And
we'll put the beauty industry out of business, the cosmetic industry out of business.
Well, yes.
Put them on notice.
The millions of dollars will be not sent into their companies in truckloads, but to us learning about this information.
There you go.
You know, just to agree with you, Carrie, I noticed when I would go to my aid group, and I noticed this many years ago, it put me in a state because, you know, I'm usually up around 4 o'clock that morning combining all my presentations because I do one just about every morning, and then I squash them all together. So I'm already pumped up and in alignment, and I noticed that it was just impossible for me to see something bad about a person once I got to the meetup. Literally, yeah. And not only that, but they popped. You know, there was always stuff about them, you know, a necklace, a dress, a shirt, shoes, something about them would just, they'd come in my field and they would just literally pop. And the downside was sometimes people would come to me and feel sad about something. I couldn't even, all I could see was their radiance. And I had to be careful. They would literally start crying and I would literally start laughing because You know, if you could see yourself the way Source sees you, you wouldn't be upset.
Right.
You would never worry again.
But that's even interesting too, because their crying is just releasing resistance and your laughing is also just releasing resistance for them. It's just, you know, we all have different ideas of what that's going to look and feel like, or our sensitivity and all of these things, that if they're crying, we're supposed to have a somber face or something. And a lot of times, you know, we're just exactly what you said. We're seeing the highest version of them. I mean, there was a time actually where I was talking with Rebecca. It was during one of the events, so it must have been on a cruise or something, maybe the Caribbean. And I had mentioned the transitioning of my partner, because when I met everyone in the Seattle group for the Alaska cruise last summer, I didn't talk about my partner at all. It wasn't going to be a good topic, didn't want to explain where things stood, was no reason for me to go into details. And so I just rode the wave of all other topics for me and left that one out. And so when I mentioned to her that my partner had transitioned, Rebecca said, "Congratulations." And then in that moment, I wasn't quite ready. I was ready, but I wasn't ready for the response to be congratulations. And I remember like knowing, I know what she's saying and I get it. And this is a wonderful thing. But also I'm still feeling a little sorry for myself and not quite ready for congratulations. And so I was like translating. I was like, I'm gonna translate that congratulations as, "You're an amazing, powerful creator, Carrie, and this is going to turn out really well for you." And I know that it was all in good fun, but I think that those things are really interesting. Those moments where you are high, you're not maybe as high as you could be, but you're high enough that you're hearing. So that person who's crying in front of you and sad is high enough that they're watching you laugh about what's giving them a little bit of difficulty, because they're just on the verge of getting to that next spot.
Oh, and that is so true. I remember the young lady that was crying in front of me, and she's gone on to become wildly successful selling a product that she developed called, it's a replaceable mop head. And over the years, she's marketed it in the United States and Canada, QVC, HSN, and now it's in the United States in Walmart. And so she's gone to become wildly successful, but at the moment, in the moment, it seemed she didn't know the future, and she didn't know it was going to be a huge,
fabulous.
And that she was going to have thousands of investors. His minimum investment was $25,000. That would carry her to the wonderful places that she went.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I have a little tidbit I would love to hear from all of you on, anyone who wants to jump in. So I'm just having such a good time with myself, with my travels, with just everything that I want, doing what I want. And on the relationship topic, it's been a significant amount of time now, I suppose, since the transition of my partner. And so a few months ago, I had put out there, you know, similar to Trina and Frank, that I like that cuddling, and I like that physical affection, and I like that really deep, strong emotional connection. So first I had to grapple with, well, my guy isn't physically here, and I maintain my connection with him. And now a new person's coming into my life, and I will have a connection with them. And so for me, this has been very interesting and intriguing, because I met Rebecca, I met a few other people through the Abraham groups, and I was being exposed to the idea of polyamory. And so while polyamory it encompasses multiple things, and I'm certainly not the person to speak to everything it encompasses, for me, physically, I'm not interested in the physicality of polyamory, but talking to everyone has helped me so much, because in my mind, in my belief system, what I will be engaging in is a form of polyamory, because I'm continuing to love my transitioned partner. I'm continuing to talk to and nurture the humor of that relationship all the time. And for a brief period of time, I couldn't grasp the concept that I could still love that person and have focused, fun energy around that relationship, and then still allow someone new to come in without it being this weird situation where I reference and talk about my my transition guy. You know, that's part of my life. That's part of anyone who's going to come in is going to recognize that it was my relationship with Anthony that set off these huge rockets of desire for long-term fun. Him and I had a lifelong relationship, which I think is an interesting term. It lasted the duration of his life. Doesn't have to be 50 years to be a lifelong relationship, right? So a few months ago, I put out there that I'm interested in my new guy coming into my life, and what kind of things am I wanting, and a lot of that clarifying. And I said, I just really enjoy, I enjoy knowing it's vibrational before it's physical. So vibrationally, I already feel like I'm in a relationship. Physically, I'm not. But vibrationally, I feel that. And so I was laying in bed one night and I just said, well, since I'm already in this amazing vibrational relationship with this man, I must be able to activate that. I must be able to already talk to him, and he must be able to already talk to me. So I'm laying in bed. I know I can talk to Anthony anytime I want. And I was kind of talking to him in that moment. And I was like, so you've shown me, this is to Anthony, the transition guy. So you've shown me that I can talk to you whenever I want, as long as I'm high enough and I'm in that resonance. So you know who this guy is that I'm about to encounter. And so let's have him come in and talk to me. And he did. And it was amazing, mind-blowing, incredible. And so I began having this feeling of a conversation with this guy. And he started bringing up any little thing that I may have questioned myself about. Well, is this even possible? This is very similar to what Trina said. Does a person like this exist? I know the basics exist, but what about this really unique thing that I would love? Would that exist in a partner? And so this energy of this guy came in, and he basically just started, I translated it into words, of course, and there's specific things. And he was like, just like Rebecca said, she likes evidence. I like evidence. And so I was told very specifically, this is what I'm going to say to you. These are some of the conversations we're about to have. And some words and some phrases. And I mean, I was just, now I'm kind of shaking as I tell the story. I was so full of this feeling that, oh my God, I really can just be technically single, travel the world, follow my bliss, do what I want to do, have no concern over where, when, who, why, how, none. I know that I'm on my path, and I know that this amazing man is on his path. We've already talked back and forth a little bit, and it's just going to be that natural coming together. And it feels so much more powerful than anything I've ever experienced before. That's my news.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh. Wow.
I love
cool. That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Well, I love the power of working in framework too, and the way you broke down walls and realized, hey, it's here now. I can do it now. It's mine now. I've already created this now. It's available. I can actually reach out vibrationally and put my vibrational hands on it now. I mean, that is just super powerful. And to realize and the brilliance of what you were saying about realizing that you had the relationship vibrationally. That's quite the hurdle, isn't it? That we don't give ourselves credit for our vibrational creations in our mind. And so to do that is a big leap, because that's where the gold is, isn't it? Once you own the vibration, you own it.
Absolutely.
And after that physical manifestation is just a series of synchronicities that come together.
It is.
Well, I ours to say it's that we create it, and we are the ones who are creating that reality that it unfolds before us.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love too is that where I feel really liberated about the physical fun, about the sexuality, about the cuddling, about all those things, has been this real true knowing that the emotional and mental parts are forever. You're emotionally and mentally able to connect forever with your past partner, your future partner, your anyone, your friends, your family, all that. So all of that is eternal. The only thing that's not eternal is the physical part. And so while I'm aware I'm saying this on camera, how much more am I savoring the physical part? Like, I mean, it's so fun to be able to recognize that when you are with that person physically, and it doesn't have to be sexual, it can be any type of affection, but just that idea that every little thing that feels good, you guys holding hands right now, or when the sides of your arms are touching at the movie theater, or the resting of the head, or the laying on their chest, every one of those things, I feel like I'm in a place where I will be savoring those so much more, because I recognize that's the only thing that goes away. I'm not saying I'm not going to value the intellectual conversation and the emotional connection, but I know that those two are eternal. And so that physical savoring, I mean, it's a good thing that I don't work, because we're going to need to stay home a lot to just keep on, busy savoring the things I want to savor. And I think that's really special, because I think so many people and so much of our media, it's putting sexuality in your face all the time, and it's also telling you not to be so obsessed with sex. It's putting all the physicality in front of you and saying, well, everything shouldn't be physical. But from our perspective, from this leading edge perspective, the physical is what we're here for. So much of it. I mean, gosh, we certainly love the looks of people's bodies, and we certainly love the feeling and the sensation and that physical touch. And that enriching of the physical experience, I think is so extremely powerful. And so I'm really excited to feel so liberated by that knowledge. And I don't know that for my belief systems where they were, that it would have come to me and through me in the same way had I not had that perception of loss, or had the physical loss, but kept the emotional connection.
That's awesome. I love that. And actually that brings up, I think, another topic that we were thinking about talking about is the unconditional and relationships with other people that we were mentioning before we got on camera. Do you guys want to talk about that at all?
Well, yeah. I think that's the key. That's probably the key to any relationship, particularly the partnership kind of relationship, because for me at least, that's the only thing that really led me to connect deeply with Trina. I think. I mean, there were lots of physical reasons. There were lots of three-dimensional reasons for it, but it's that unconditional aspect of coming together that really allowed me to go to the next level. I mean, we had step one, getting into use some Abe terms here. Step one was the sex. No,
that was step 3 and step 4
yeah,
and step 5.
But no. So there's the initial sort of connection, and then beyond that are these other layers that start getting applied to a relationship. Well, she and I happen to live 200 kilometers apart. We live in different countries. We have completely different, three-dimensional lifestyles.
Like, I live in the suburbs with 4 kids, and he lives in a condo in uptown Seattle. Yeah. And anyway, but those things don't matter, and we just don't focus on them, and we know it's all going to work out perfectly. And we also know that none of the conditions are what make us happy in that sense, or within each other. So we agreed and had a conversation where we, decided to do this little experiment where we wanted to be unconditional. So if I don't believe that we'll ever have a fight, because my perception is that if something goes off and I don't feel right, the last thing I would do is take it to him, because there's nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. So the push is within me to sort out. And I do that all the time. Like, if there's, this much time has gone by and when are we going to see each other? Well, okay, why do I even need to see him? No, but I just push myself to it. And if it's about fun and pleasure and being happy, that's great. But I'm always checking out that the most important relationship to me is the one with me. And so how to stay focused on me and love him is really what what it is, and taking 100% responsibility for how we both feel and our own alignment. And, you know, easily we ended up falling into a little beautiful routine where we spend 45 minutes together in the morning, stretching, and then listening to a meditation and writing in our journal and going for a walk whenever we can. And we do it when we're not together, but it is delightful when we're together, and it just sort of synced perfectly, and we sort of added in little parts of ourselves with each other's, and it's just so
And
fun.
like Miles, who starts out his day the way you do, Miles, and with your writing and your journaling and your meditations, if you do that with another person, you kind of automatically sort of click into this resonance that then does carry quite a ways into the day. It's interesting. I just used the word carry again. And Miles has used it 2 or 3 times. And I think that is, once again, it's one of those little synchronicities.
Yeah, and I think the other piece for me was that when I was in the midst, after listening to Carrie and Rebecca talk, I was really questioning whether one person can, I mean, other than myself, could potentially light up all those areas for me. And so my interest in polyamory was about that, like, how would I explore those things? And then came to this relationship where it wasn't going to work for him, definitely, and I wasn't really sure it would work for me, and then decided it wouldn't, and that we just wanted to be together. But I also had this desire to just go where I felt I wanted to go and explore, and discovered, I mean, I Skype with Miles once a week, I've Skyped with Bill multiple times, and have been experiencing a lot of male energy around me, and it's delightful, and it doesn't have to cross that line, you know, unless it was what I had wanted, but it isn't. And so it's just fun to sort of be open to people almost without that being even a consideration, like just where the energy lines up. And then to know that I have a partner that it's not that he doesn't care, but really he doesn't, you know, those Abe vows of I promise for the rest of my life to never care what you think about me, is really how I think we both roll. Like, we just do what feels good, not as a permission to be an asshole, but just as a permission to do what lights you up and know the other person can take care of themselves.
You know, I think of the power of unconditionality. What is that? It is exactly equivalent to allowing, isn't it? When you're unconditional, you're wide open. So naturally, you're opening your arms and embracing your life and embracing the universe. And it's a powerful place to come from.
I think unconditional is very powerful. So
And I really, go ahead.
it's like, whoops, so like invincibility, right? So no matter what's in front of me, like if I'm single, whatever, I'm not gonna cry about it. You know, I'm just gonna be like, okay, I'm single, I'm still gonna feel good, I'm still gonna love myself. I think unconditional is one of the most powerful things you can have, especially moving around in the world and everything. So yeah.
So Harmon, when you speak, your voice tends to go down and we can't hear you, or
Really?
even I can't hear you.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is it louder now?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, maybe I was too far away from the thing, my iPad.
And I wanted to share a funny other little thing with Carrie, which is that my first husband also transitioned, and often when Frank's at my house, we go to the bench that is for my husband and we write in our journals together with my husband there. And there is a feeling that he definitely knows Frank's energy, and there's lots of funny humor in my ear about that. So though him and Frank hasn't necessarily felt like they've met, there is definitely an acceptance and a knowing. And I don't know, that feels fine to you?
Yeah, I don't really dwell on that. It just happens to be one of those things that that falls into place. And it really doesn't, I don't need to dwell on it. I don't need to think about the parts of her life that aren't necessarily part of what's going on now. So it works for me.
I like that you put that perspective on it, because you guys are talking about a physical partner and a non-physical partner who's not around anymore, and how loving and accepting they are. And I experienced that with 2 physical partners, you know, with both of my boyfriends having such appreciation for each other, even though they never spend any time together. They just, they experience each other through me and my vibration and how I shift when I spend time with each of them. So there's a very strong appreciation for Chris for Mark, and Mark for Chris, and then me for, you know, Mark's wife and his kids and everything. So it's a really interesting, different, definitely not the common socially acceptable thing of, wait, what? Not the I raise thing, more the, oh, hey, there's a vibrational hug there.
And they don't have to be transitioned for that. They just are not. They're not present in the room.
Yeah, I think that's one of the places we're going as the vibration raises, because frankly, it's like every death is suicide. Every person's in polyamory. You know, you know that. I mean, that's not even a question, is it? You love your wife, you love your kids, you love your friends, you love your people that you work with. So it's just it's almost a matter of definition. It's like you almost have to slap sexuality on it to give it some kind of meaning that doesn't really relate to the world.
Yeah. Our languaging right now around relationships doesn't actually fit what we're all experiencing and talking about. I mean, the words have too much weight. Like in the very beginning of the conversation, Miles, I don't think you were here yet or not online yet, when Rebecca referred to Frank and Trina's relationship as an open relationship. And then there was kind of this pause of like, well, I don't know if we would describe it that way, because the words they just have a certain connotation that doesn't actually fit where we all are, or where this current leading edge is, or that ability to be loving, truly loving unconditionally towards multiple people. And then it's every person's personal preference, whether that involves sexuality or not. There are people who are absolutely madly, intimately in love and prefer not to act upon that physicality of it. And that's okay too. I think it's just so liberating to be able to do and be and feel and value whatever each of us wants. And for me personally, that's just been amazing. And the idea of freedom within a relationship, of being free to be myself. Because if I'm free to be myself, then I don't need to take any action or behavior to prove to you that I'm the boss of me. I can just be me, and I am. And that just feels so incredible to me. And it changes the way that I perceive things. I'm getting a weird visual now of a phone call.
I think someone's calling in from outside. So
Gotcha.
We're all good.
Yeah. So I love that. I love the freedom of it. And this goes back to a little while ago in the call, but I just feel like it's worth mentioning. All of us are here for ourselves, of course. We're all part of the conversation because it feels good and we want to be here. But there is a ripple effect outside of this call. And I think that, Trina, the things that you spoke about and the way that you so eloquently and powerfully stated how true you are to who you are in this relationship with Frank, and how aligned you are with, I have to care about how I feel first. My problem is not automatically his problem just because we are in a relationship. My stuff is my stuff to handle, and then we can bring things that feel good to amplify. And I just don't, it doesn't really matter if you know or don't know, but from me to you, people, that affects people. When they hear this call, what you said and the way you modeled it and the way that it rolled off your tongue so easily is not just sort of to be glazed over. It's really, really powerful, because we value what Abraham says, and we can hear Esther Abraham talk all the time on stage, and I'm not devaluing that, but this, just to see one of us, be a person who's also listening and learning and growing and experiencing and having contrast, and then saying, I mean, that post was in May.
I know.
This is September. Like, that is so fast. And you're sitting here totally owning, I'm here for me. I'm doing this for me. And look at my relationship with Frank, but I'm going to tend to me. It's really, really powerful. And so I really am appreciative of you taking the time to share this today and really being you.
Thank you.
One of the things that I find about a relationship is, one of the huge gifts of a relationship is, when you feel love and you feel safe, if you get in that Trina place where you can recognize what's coming up is you, then the other person becomes a gigantic gift, because they're just a big movie screen reflecting. This is like step 5, but we'll just call it step 6. This is when you get to the place of magnificence in a relationship, and you get that it's the gift of getting to work on yourself in high speed.
Yeah.
Because you're already in a safe and loving environment. And so your stuff is going to be coming up, and you get to work on it yourself if you get that. if you get that it's always you and it's never them, except when it's good, when it's both of you.
I'd like to add to that though, because I'm curious if there's a different word than safe. Because see, I don't play with safe.
Yeah,
There's nothing safe because there's no danger out there. Nothing's trying to get me.
Absolute well-being, yeah.
Like, so it's something. I totally agree with everything that was said, and I would just label a different word than safe, because there's constant well-being. I am constantly free, no matter what environment I am in, to express the fullest aligned version of myself. In fact, if I was in a place that others deemed unsafe, the best thing I could ever do is be fully aligned, because then I'm untouchable. Absolutely untouchable.
That's fantastic.
That's the insurance policy.
That's really good.
Yes.
Really good stuff.
I love that.
And I guess the little thing that I would see a little tiny bit different is that it isn't about feeling safe, because it's about it's not even that the contrast is different. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't know that the things that I come up against, I think there's certain things from past me versions that get to come up that I get to bump up against and say, I'm done with you, in a way within this relationship that with me, it might have taken longer to get there. So I appreciate that it's super accelerated in that, but I have no doubt I would have got there anyway on my own. And there's nothing that I need from him to get me there. He just happens to be there. I mean, and it's just fun and delicious. And, he just spent a week at my house in Chilliwack and got to live every day what it's like to be me. And I have 4 children and, ranging from the age of 8 to the age of 18 and a half. And it was quite an interesting week. I mean, I have an 8-year-old that says, mommy, 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 continuously, and lots of interruptions. And I have an 18 and a half year old that literally spent 2 days in jail because he made some decisions that other people, including me, wasn't very happy with in the moment. So it really threw him into a place of seeing some of the contrast that I deal with. And I had no expectations of his behavior or his anything. I mean, to the point that in dealing with my son, I gave 0% thought to how he felt about anything that I did. I just did, like he asked me, and that is the truth. I did what I wanted to do. He had complete permission to do what he wanted to do. But I mean, I did have conversation at some points, like this is what I was thinking, just to see if he had any suggestions, potentially open to suggestions. But in terms of the actual decision, even when he gave a suggestion, I still didn't feel like I had to take it. Like it was just so free to be me. I just really like it. And it is the way that I want to live. And it's really fun. I like it a lot.
Well, that to me is love. When I check with my spirit on love, my spirit said love is 2 things. It's freedom and joy. And if it's not those things, it's not love. It might be a lot of things, but when you get freedom and joy, you got love. Oh my God, there it is, sitting there right in front of me, right?
Awesome. There was one other thing I wanted to say back to Carrie just earlier ago when she talked about being so free that you could decide that you deserved pleasure. When I was talking with Carrie and Rebecca, there was parts of me that was bumping up against some old ideas that I had about my sexual self and about, just owning that and seeing it I don't know, I didn't like the word need, but seeing it as a desire that I was in line with and that I was going to let myself have. And so I'd entertain this intention around cherishing myself and feeling cherished. And that's the energy that I wanted. So definitely when Frank and I lined up, there was that cherishing was part of it. And I know that I made a discovery, which was that when I sink into enjoying myself and being present in my body and letting that experience happen, it excited him a lot. And I think men don't realize how exciting that is for men. And the past versions of me were sort of held back and didn't feel comfortable with doing that. What a waste that was.
Exactly. What a waste.
It wasn't a waste because it created all that desire for this.
Clarity, yeah.
Yes, I know. I just meant the epic in the moment pleasure. That's all I was going for. But I get it.
Yes.
Every step leads to some place that we're not sure we're going. But when you have that hindsight to look back at your journal or the Facebook, you see that every single step was in perfect sequence.
Or even I have a friend that I've been friends with for 3 years. So she's watched 3 years of me. And every time I see her lately, she's literally so happy she almost has tears of joy. Like the epic transition that she's seen in me, she's just so delighted with how I show up. Anyway, it's really neat to share that with her. So it's really fun.
I think one of the things that's really important, I mean, of course, when I'm speaking, I can relate to more of the feminine energy, whether that be a female or whether that be a male who's working on, you know, feminine energy and receiving and allowing. I mean, either way, it's gender unspecific, but it's that feminine energy of receiving and allowing. And I think that it's perfectly fine. It's been wonderful in my experience to be able to allow ourselves to be in a place where we take steps 1, 2, and 3 of creation and we apply those to sexuality, because as we've already kind of mentioned, feminine energy is receiving and allowing, and that includes receiving and allowing pleasure. And so, yeah, you know, you want to be able to have a clarified desire of the experience you want to have, and then you want to be able to turn it over and say, this can happen in any way it happens, and there's nothing wrong with any of it, and then you allow yourself to experience that. And, you know, for me, that was a deliberate intention. That wasn't what was modeled to me. That was not my initial experiences. That was not what sexuality was for a good portion of my life. And I love that for those of us who are following love attraction and who are really taking it into our own hands, of course, as deliberate creators, that there is this really strong, there's a power in recognizing that we never have to say who we are or who we were. We can really focus on where I'm going, where I'm wanting to be, what I'm wanting to experience. And so I love that I used to encounter people who would maybe see something like this and then they would say, oh, well, specifically on sexuality, well, I'd love to be able to experience that, but that's not how I am, type of thing. Or I'd love to be open to doing that with a guy, but that's not how, I don't feel comfortable with that, type of thing. And sorry, I'm just getting a bunch of feedback.
Yeah, I think that's hard.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Sorry. I'm just, you know, my charger's ending out. I'm just going to check my charger quickly, yeah?
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
And so I love that. For me, that involved actually taking time and saying, I'm going to focus on receiving pleasure. I'm going to focus on everything about me and see what that's like and see where that goes. And I can really resonate with a bunch of the women or people who are in a place where they came from something different. They're on the verge of true bliss and of really exploring and experiencing and enjoying, and they're right at that cusp in between. And I think it's so valuable to just take that time and say, this matters to me. This matters to me how I experience my own body for the rest of my life. The past doesn't need to be even addressed. I can really take from right now, what would I like to experience? And in the next bit of time, what would I like to bring in? What do I want to amplify in terms of physical connection? And I think that that's really powerful. And I know some would say healing, but healing implies something was wrong. It's very liberating, enriching, therapeutic, and natural. And that's what I'd like. I'd like there to be more talk of the naturalness of female sensuality. There's nothing more natural than that.
Amazing. You're hitting a lot of things on the nail that I've been kind of
Yeah,
thinking
we can't hear you.
You have to move forward or we can't hear you.
Yeah, so, you know, like a lot of these things that you're talking about, I was actually thinking of, you know, like, it's funny, I've been thinking about this in a few weeks, the naturalness of something, like something sexual, whereas it's meant to be something that you just suppress, right? Whereas, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, thank you for bringing this up, Carrie, because I don't know if I have put this out to the wider community yet or not, but I've been inspired to host a women's community weekend here in Seattle in 2 weeks on the October 9th or 11th. And the entire purpose of it is showing women that they can embrace their own sensuality, no matter what it looks like, and that they can appreciate it and how valued it is, how much when we relax into that space of receiving pleasure and enjoying pleasure, how much we give back to everyone that we interact with.
And, you know, I couldn't help but think that there was some connection between receiving pleasure and money. I mean, they just seem connected. So.
Receiving is receiving. I can say that is definitely related, those two.
Well, I mean, energy flow, it's all energy flow.
And I also love that. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys who have joined me on this call and are having this conversation, because both Trina and Carrie have pointed out the fact that we are modeling this, we are willing to share it with other people, the ripples that we're making by just living our alignment out loud is, it has made a huge impact in my life. And then being able to, meet Carrie and have conversations with her, and then seeing Miles and Reba, because Miles and Reba, they have been probably the first really connected and aligned relationship that I had watched that was fully in that place that I thought, oh yeah, that's something that I might want for myself. And then seeing Trina and Frank come together. So I'm just overflowing with the joy, knowing what this conversation's effect is going to be, not just because we're all shifting vibrationally in the conversation, but also because it can be available for other people to see, to feel. So thank you guys.
Because the energy then ripples out.
Yes.
So fun. I love having leading edge conversations.
Oh yes.
I had one little last thing I wanted to add is it's an analogy that I just thought of our relationship with ourselves is like the cake, and the partner is like the frosting on the cake. The cake.
Just makes it a little bit sweeter.
Little tasty.
Wow, I think that's really terrific, Frank. I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. Yeah. And I've pretty much known from the beginning that Tina was frosting. Yeah.
Chocolate one day, vanilla the next, maybe strawberry.
I love it.
The new definition of the sweet spot.
Oh my God, that's great.
Talk about riding the wave of alignment.
The wave of alignment.
Absolutely. So is there anybody else that'd like to add anything else here? It feels
I was gonna, since we're talking about this topic, so I've been thinking lately, I was like, when I think of a loving relationship, I'm like, it's not as arousing as, for example, if you have someone as like a short-term relationship, if you know what I mean. Maybe it's that period in your life. When I think of love, I never quite get aroused by having a relationship. But then sometimes I do want a relationship, but then it's like sometimes it's like that's not really exciting though, So it's kind of strange. Sometimes I guess you find
it sounds like you're talking about a short relationship tends to be more arousing for you, and a long-term relationship doesn't feel as exciting.
Yeah, So I find it more like fun, to have like someone that I'm just, someone that I meet in a short period, and just.
Great. So have that.
It's just sometimes then you're like, it feels like an empty feeling, like I'm like, okay, so I did my thing with them, and now what, it's kind of strange. Sometimes I think you have to find the spot.
So what would you like?
Just if I'll be honest with you, in honesty, I think what I want at the moment is, it seems like other people want me to want one partner, but then I want something else, So I think I've got.
What would you want?
Just shag around. I'm kidding. No,
then
no,
shag
just
around.
to like.
Plenty of women where you are that want to be shagged.
No. The thing is, I'll be honest, it's like you want to just experience, collect the die, so just go on lots of dates, not necessarily shag around, but just collect lots of dates and just have a knowing of what you want in the final thing, So what do I want exactly? Just good experience, emotional connection, and just frequently, So
that's good. You can have what you want, and it doesn't matter what other people think is best for you. If other people are wanting a long-term relationship, so what? That's their business. It's got nothing to do with you. They can want.
Sometimes I think it's more. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's like I have to go out of my way to go out on a night to do that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Abraham always talks about allowing it to you. So it's like having money, for example. Like I'm thinking, if I want to get money now, I'll start my business and shit. Start my business and stuff. Yeah. So do I go how do you get to that place where it just kind of flows to you, you know, rather than you have to go out to the club or something,
Right.
you know, trying to pull,
Well,
you know, it's just stuff like that.
To me, it sounds like you're talking about effort versus ease.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it
definitely.
feels like an effort to go
It
out.
works though. The effort part works, but it's like,
Yes.
it's like, you know, I'm looking for that ease, and it feels like when I do find the partner, like I just grab someone, you know, like it wasn't like a proper, you know, like Abraham explains it, like a from the vortex, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
To me, it's just whatever you're wanting to radiate and emanate. If I were to be a guy in England wanting to have loads of choices and opportunities and a variety of dates and shag partners or whatever it is, it's really flowing that energy of me feeling so good about me. Who wouldn't want to be with me? Who would not want to be around me?
That's
Who
good. I like, you know, I like your phrases though. You know, some people use some good phrases.
You know, you can be right there. It's just, to me, from my outside perspective, it would be, it's a difference between, I mean, it's always effort and ease. It's on any topic, on money, on sex, on partners, on anything. So do you want to sit at home and spend your time thinking about taking the action of going out and finding somebody, or do you want to be at home activating how radiant, how exciting, how powerful, how vital, how vibrant, how magnetic you are, and then you could go anywhere. You don't have to go to a club. You can go to the grocery store. You can go to the 7-Eleven. I don't even know if you have 7-Eleven there.
We have Tesco's and Sainsbury's.
Yeah, it's really finding yourself. It's really feeling like before you even leave your house, or without even leaving your house, that you are so magnetic. You are doing what Trina is doing. You're enjoying your own company so much. Someone wants to join in, not because you're going to give them something or be something, because you're so fun to be around that whatever you did would be fun.
Yes,
that definitely works.
That works.
I say some golden things sometimes. Honestly, that's spot on.
That's definitely Trina's lesson for us.
Yeah.
Falling in love with yourself. So if there's something you need to do, it's fall in love with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always back to the basics, focusing on what you want, being able to clearly say to anyone what you want in that given moment. As soon as a person is caught up on, but people want me to want this, or then the person expects this, the focus and the energy is all split because it's too much about what everyone else wants and what everyone else thinks. I don't want to line up with anyone in a club, a grocery store, or anywhere that has no clue what they want. I know what I want, and I know how it's going to come to me. It's going to come from me focusing on how good it feels to get it.
Give me a high five.
That wasn't quite meant to sound how it was really any topic.
How is that?
What if, like, you know, sometimes, since we're on this topic, because it's surprising that you guys came to me with this now, because this has been on my mind sometimes quite a bit. This topic, I haven't been lost by it, but like as a young person growing up in the UK, and it's like when I was like teen, 4 or 5 years ago now, I was like, what's the meaning of this? What's the sexual energy I'm feeling? Like I used to think it's a curse before. So, and then I used to get kind of annoyed, like a girl. So I was like, what? Come on, man! Like, I can pull with her. So then I changed it all, and then I just started to relax more and more. Now I don't care anymore. I think that's why I'm talking to you guys today, because I don't actually care about it. And this thing comes into my mind where, sometimes guys that I've been with, that I've been around with, that we talk to girls, sometimes they're like, I'll say to him, like, oh, what's the whole like looks aspect to it? Because
what's the looks aspect?
When I see a girl, like she looks very, very beautiful, yeah? I'm in alignment, she looks very pretty. So then I'm like, my friends like, go talk to her. I'm like, yeah, I would like to talk to her. But then another friend would say, I'll go, you talk to her. But then you'd be like, no, she's out of my league or something. So how do you would you put down a list? Like, what do you want to look for in a partner? Like,
I'll be back. I just let the dog out.
Yeah. Well, I would say don't focus so much on the physical evidence of stuff, but focus more on how you want to feel. Like Trina was talking about, she was feeling how she wanted to feel with a partner. She had no idea who that partner was or what they were going to look like or whether they were going to eat the same amount as she does and whether that was going to be so complimentary or not. It didn't have anything to do with any of that stuff. It was, I want to feel like someone is dancing with me around the kitchen and it feels very romantic and we feel really connected and we're just totally joyful. That's a whole different thing than saying I want her to be blonde with blue eyes and or this is the kind of person that I'm attracted to. Just enjoy knowing that you're going to be attracted to him, that you're going to have that draw to that person. Let that be your feeling. And then the physical will fill in. You don't have to decide how, it will.
Yeah. And I also think, I mean, if you're wanting to play with physical, based on the words that you were just saying, Harms, you're saying, okay, a person might see a woman in an environment, in a club or whatever, and say, well, she's very beautiful and she might be out of so-and-so's league. Right there, it's already off because there are no leagues. There are no leagues. There is alignment. There is alignment. And so this whole idea that we never actually know, we don't ever know the recent experiences that a person has just had. We can feel the vibration of it. We can feel the resonance of it. But each of us has such a unique look. And none of us necessarily knows already that the look that we have, is going to be radiating alignment. And so that's the look that people want, that they're not going to label with radiating alignment. They label it with things like a physical size, a shape, a height, a skin color, an eye color, all these things. But it's really about that energy. And for me personally, my best, most enriching experiences have not been with men where they would fit into any of the physicalities of what I would have mentioned or what I would have thought I wanted.
But how that happens, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just think it's really important, though, to not, I mean, you can never feel like you're out of somebody's league because then you're basing it that you're not, what you're saying is I'm unaligned in this moment. To ever think that there's a league that someone else is in and that you're not in, is just saying I'm not aligned with receiving that right now. That girl's too pretty and they're not in my league is the same as saying that $2 million is too much for me to allow into my experience.
To the guy, I was like, always think of yourself as like the trophy, you know? You're the trophy, you're the prize. And so is she as well. But, you know, just think of yourself as, just love yourself. I was like, you know, I will just give it like, I did say that, all I said was think of yourself as a trophy to him. And then we didn't actually do anything. But then obviously that's him. I don't really like mind my own business anyway. So I was thinking for myself, how could I improve myself in that situation? I mean, like you said, you know, just don't even think that she's not out, like that she's not in your league, out of your league. So just go about it that way.
Take yourself out on a date and see who shows up.
Yeah, I have to say, I have always had experiences where every time I attract a partner that's just been a really delicious and loving partner, and they really all have been. So every time I have attracted a partner, it's been because I have been doing something that I really wanted to do, and they saw me and were like, hey, you're kind of cool. I like your vibe, you know? I met the guy that I married training martial arts, which was something that I had wanted to do my entire life. And I moved to Seattle in a place where suddenly it was available to me. And so I went and I trained martial arts. That's what I did. I did it because I loved it. I didn't do it because I wanted to meet somebody. I didn't even think that I was going to, you know, like him when I met him. I didn't like him for an entire month before we finally started to connect. So it's not about the other person so much as it is how much fun are you having with yourself.
Yeah.
When you're yourself, when you're taking your inner being out on dates because you love it, other people will show up that love it too, because that's what you're vibrating. If they're going to show up, they have to be matched to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the languaging that goes is anything related to finding, meeting, like any of those things. No one's wanting or seeking. They're actually just living their own alignment and being in the moment and loving themselves and loving the space that they're in, loving the activity they're doing, everything that Rebecca was just saying. Because people who are focused on finding someone or meeting someone are more on the end of the stick of lack than they are on already having it.
This makes so much sense. It's really making sense to me now. It's just like, just love yourself, and then it will come. That's all it is, you know. Just that feeling of accepting yourself.
Look, I got it right here.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right there.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, since
That's hot.
since this topic keeps coming up in my head, I think I should say it for everyone to hear. One of my very good Abraham friends, Lana Schlafer, she is an
I
Abraham.
met her 2 days ago, actually. I saw her 2 days ago.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome, right?
Mhm.
So
So
she
that was good.
she has a program called Get Full of Yourself, and it's all about self-love and stuff. So I just thought, oh, how appropriate for this interview to share that with everyone. I think I'm going to be signing up for it soon, so we'll probably see some of her exercises showing up in the meetup.
Oh, that's great. You know, and another, you know, you've heard about the Book of Positive Aspects. You know, Harmon, one of the things you can do is make lists of all the wonderful things about you. You know, get a gigantic notebook and never end the list. And
Write a whole book on it.
And oh, perfect. And a list of all your successes from the day you were born, you know.
That's a good idea.
And even the ones that people shared with you, you know. Because once you get in a line, get on that success train and you start to feel it, you realize that you can ride that train anywhere.
Yeah. And none of the circumstances matter. I actually had,
Amazing.
someone asked me this week, they heard where I lived. This is while I was here in Australia. And so I mentioned where I currently live. And I live in a very small town. It's mostly a retirement community. I live within 10 minutes of my parents, which feels good to me at this point in my life to be able to be around them. And so I had a gentleman ask me this week, well, wow, that sounds kind of like an isolated area. Do you have any trouble finding men? And I just felt so good because immediately I just sort of kind of like crumpled up my face because it sounded so ridiculous. And I was just like, nope, not at all. No problem finding, meeting, and magnetizing, attracting, anything that I want is here all the time. And I think that just feels so, it feels so good to even have those manifestations where you're asked a question or something's posted on Facebook, which is kind of how all this came about, and you're really getting the chance to answer it and to really see and feel where you are in that moment. What am I vibrating from? What place is that? Is it the place of abundance? Is it the place of, total receiving, pleasure, everything being available to me? Or is it the place of ho-hum, not yet, maybe someday? There's nothing maybe someday about my life right now. Everything is right now, available to me right now.
Yeah.
If I want to get off the call and have anything that I want, it's here.
Cool.
Well, I just love the flow of how this interview and chat has gone. This has been so perfect.
Love
One more thing I was going to say, there'll be another thing where, do you think your partners wise, should someone know about Abe when you get with them? Should it be someone that knows what you know? Or could you have a satisfying relationship with someone that doesn't know about Abe? Because I find it difficult to think.
I'd say that's really up to you because both of my partners are not Abraham people. They don't listen to Abraham, but they're the kind of people that have a natural inclination to follow their path of inspiration, their path of ease. So there's a lot of people that call them natural Abraham people just because they practice a lot of the things that are in the teachings. They just don't think I'm going to sit down and do a process or I'm going to go on a cruise and listen to Abraham. So that's personal choice, really up to you.
Yeah, leave it up to your inner spirit. Your inner spirit will bring you the match that's ideal for you.
Leave the details up to the higher self.
Yeah, leave the house up to that.
Very interesting stuff.
And if you want to experience that, set an intention and see what happens. Someone will show up and you'll have an interesting, at least, if not.
What kind of intention do you think? What? So, okay, since we're on this topic now, so say, for example, now, I've been, just free-flowing, I'm not really looking for a relationship, or I'm just looking for, just have fun, find some people that I have fun with, like some girls like that I like, and maybe collect some data that allow me to better define what I want in a real relationship. So now, okay, how do you reckon one should go about that? I mean, Mars mentioned having a book of positive aspects, like to write down, loving yourself, like writing down what's good about you, like, I love my hair and I just love that I'm a good person, which I am and confident. And so then you were saying about intention, what intention would you set? Like if I wake up in the morning, like what kind of momentum would I ensue, like to ensure that?
Well, what is it that you want when you talk about, would you like to have
That's interesting, you see.
with another
Carrie saying that as well. What I want is just, I would say it's more physical at the moment in my life, so more physical, but emotional as well, connection, but something more physical and more connecting, something like mind-blowing and earth-shattering and just
I like those verbs.
So something just a bit of kink in it. Yeah, a bit of just really mixing it up and just having.
So pay attention to your feelings. See how you're smiling. See that huge smile you got. Pay attention to your feelings and follow those.
Yeah.
And when you start connecting with how wonderful you are, you will not be able to not connect with how wonderful they are. Yeah, and they love that.
Yeah, I think that with Trina and myself, our higher selves connected at some other level even before we did. And sometimes you just have to leave the details up to your higher self. They'll work it out. Maybe fun but
to me, it sounds like what Harms is saying is, and jump in, Harms, if I'm inaccurate about it. My reading of what you're saying is basically, I am not exactly sure what I would want in a relationship that is more of a long-term thing. And I know I might want that at some point, but right now I'd really like to have mind-blowing, earth-shattering, amazing sex with a variety of partners, so that in that process I'll be having so much fun. I'll be sifting and sorting, having fun, sifting and sorting, having fun, having my mind blown, and find my way towards the types of things that I would value in a partner I want to be near for longer term. I mean, there's no reason, there's nothing that's better or wrong or higher or lower about any of this. You don't have to want a long-term partner right now. This doesn't have to be the stage in your life where you're wanting the one or the two or the five. This can be the time where you're saying, and this to me is what it sounds like you're saying, I'm young, I'm interested in the physical, I want to go do this. And what would my intention be? Well, my intention would be, I'm going to have mind-blowing sex with a girl who really rocks my world, and whatever happens afterwards, so be it.
It's like that's so spot on. I love that what you just said. It's it's one of these things where I just know I can, but it's like I'm saying to Rebecca, it's like the ease of it. It's not like unfolding in the way that I want the ease to unfold. It's more like I go out and I do eventually obviously do my thing, but it's like it's effort on my behalf. It's like, oh, hey.
But Harms, it's this story that keeps you there. It's that story you're telling that keeps you there.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go way out here and put myself out there. So, and I might throw Rebecca and Trina under the bus with me because it's a great place to be. So Rebecca's a beautiful, powerful woman. Trina's a beautiful, powerful woman. I'm a beautiful, powerful woman. All of us at some point in time had earth-blowing, mind-shattering sex with someone who was in the right place at the right damn time, and they received us. They're out there, they're there. So you have to start telling that story. There is an amazing woman out there who wants to experience something great, and I'm going to be so focused on being a part of mind-blowing and earth-shattering. Mind-blowing and earth-shattering physical fun is not one-sided. It is not one person receiving everything and the other person receiving nothing. It is two people amplifying pleasure. So if you want to be a part of something mind-blowing and earth-shattering, your intention is to be a co-creator in that. Your intention is, I know that I'm going to participate in that. And I know that there's someone in my near presence that wants to experience that too. And it's mutually beneficial. And it's incredibly uplifting and it's powerful, and we're receiving it because we're already aligned with who we are. So whether you're wanting a fling or, and again, none of these labels work, but whether you're wanting a fling or a long-term thing or a one-night thing or a 10-minute thing, you're still putting out there, I'm going to be aligned. And if I'm aligned, I will know exactly who wants the same thing I want. I will know. I will walk into 1,000 people and I will know that's the one.
These so-called, okay, impulses, yeah? Let's go with impulses, sexual impulses. So I'm sitting on the train, I'm sitting on the bus, and someone attractive, this really attractive girl walks by, yeah? And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm like, oh crap, like, she looks really attractive. Then it's like, something comes inside, like, it's like, then it's like, I do want this, I'm thinking about the mind-blowing experience. I'm like, oh my God, I'll rock her socks off, I think that in my head. And then it's like, I think it's the how it'll unfold, that's what it is.
The how is not your business. If you keep doing, well, you have to start doing this, like the book of positive aspects and the feeling this excitement and this mind-blowing eagerness. Anyway. That will fill in on its own. You couldn't possibly come up with a strategy to prepare yourself for all of the ways that this could show up for you. So if I were you, just kind of let it go and focus on the stuff that you can think about, which is how you want to feel, how you want to feel. Because when you put more airtime in your mind, in your life, in your space on how you want to feel rather than how you have felt in the past, then how you want to feel is what starts to manifest around you physically too. But you have to do that. You have to have more airtime on that first. And then the manifestations start showing up and you go, oh, see, I never would have thought of doing that. I never would have thought of bumping into that person at Bryant Park in the middle of New York City and having them ask me about my avocado toast. What the hell? I couldn't have planned that. But it doesn't matter because I was a match to what I was a match to. Someone else who was a match showed up. That was it.
And so, I mean, just Trina posted a post on Facebook and is now sitting next to the guy she's wanting to be with. He posted on Facebook. That's not going out to a club. That's not joining.
Oh my God. I just thought something else as well. You know when I used to do this, yeah? Look. When I used to do this stuff. No. You know when I used to do this stuff, yeah? I used to be like, this is kind of cheesy though, I used to do back in the day. I used to be like, hey, I think you're cute. Let's go out. But then it was just like, you know what you're saying now? I don't know. On Facebook, like, I don't know if I should, like, sometimes I feel like, should I be so direct though on Facebook?
Correct.
Just be like, yo, let's go out. It's a bit too.
Yeah, I think Carrie nailed it earlier when she talked about the vibration and getting into the depth of the vibration, and then there's the piece about, so it's the perspective, it's the framework, Carmen. So you get into the vibration, the beautiful girl walks down the aisle of the bus, and you go, wow, it's working. Wow, spirit, my inner spirit brought this to me. My vibration is really cranking up. And then one day she walks down the aisle of the bus and she goes, is anybody sitting next to you? Wow.
You know what?
And then the next day they're going,
you're amazing, man.
Like tea. Really good. And the next day they're going, hey, I know a club. And the next day, so the idea is perspective. Can you get in alignment that your intention is always being answered and you're open and receptive to it? Because when you get in alignment with that and you start to realize that they're never stop delivering what you want. Inner self never has infinite resources and infinite energy and just keeps delivering what you want if you can line up with it.
Right.
And recognize that you're the creator.
Yeah. And so as Miles is saying, so if you're the creator, you're creating it and how it unfolds any way that you want it to. So if you think of yourself as that type of male creator, then the energy you're evoking from people is going to align with exactly where you are with things. And so obviously I'm not necessarily knowing the kind of woman that you specifically want or the kind of partner that you're specifically wanting, but just to give a few examples. So if you are totally aligned and seems like you have a few questions about how direct to be, how it's all going to unfold, et cetera, which everyone's saying, very generally and correctly so. You don't need to worry about that. That's not your concern. But to give you some examples for that, one of my favorite experiences was me being in a train station. And I kind of knew where I was going, but I wasn't quite sure. And I wanted to ask someone for directions. So I had the impulse to just ask someone for directions. Now, normally I would just turn, and whoever's near me that looked remotely reasonably sane, I would just ask them directions. And I turned, and it was kind of like an older woman or something. And right away in my mind, it was like, you're going to strike up a conversation with someone, have it be someone you might like to continue that conversation with. And I asked a different gentleman who looked quite nice for directions. What happened after that was so much fun. I mean, going out dancing, having a great time, having mind-blowing, incredible physical things. The whole thing was amazing and wonderful. And it's all just because now in that moment, he had to have been in a place where he was willing to receive just even an indication or a sign that someone was interested in even talking with them. All I asked for was directions. I didn't think in my head, I want it to go here, here, and there, here. I just had that conversation. So you could evoke anything you wanted. All the silly, I'm calling them silly, romantic comedy things where the woman drops her books and you pick them up, or the woman, there's so many ways. I would just stop worrying about the how and the why and be that creator that says, I'm a magnet for love and affection. I'm a magnet for the type of experiences I want to have. I am so powerful that the more aligned I am, the more these things will keep presenting themselves to me in fun and amusing ways. And I don't care how it comes. I'm happy with receiving everything that I have deliberately created. It's not my job to know how it's going to be delivered or when and where. It's my job to maintain my power in every moment.
And just to build on that, thank you for building on what I said, Carrie, and just to build on what Carrie's saying, with respect to yourself, a perspective of yourself as you're going through this, every last thing you do, say to yourself, as the chorus in the Greek play, stroke of genius. Everything you do, start seeing every last thing you do as a stroke of genius.
And it might seem like, according to traditional society and normal people, that you are so full of yourself when you do that all the time. But when you want to be a deliberate creator and you want to create things around you that you love yourself, and it will show. One of the things that Miles has said for years.
I love it. It's good.
As long as I have known Miles.
I love it.
Good. He talks about the reason Reba and I get along so well is I make sure to wipe the lip marks off of the mirror when I leave the bathroom every morning. And that epitomizes so well who Miles is. He's so absolutely in love with himself. And he makes jokes about the fact that he leaves kiss marks on his mirror every day, but that's who he is.
You know what it is as well? I think about this whole thing, loving myself. Maybe in the past, I don't care about this anymore, the past. I forget about the past. Maybe I was kind of full of that energy, and I was I love myself, Look at me now, yeah?
I love that! Look at you!
Yeah. Mars, you seem like a really interesting guy. Some things you say I kind of resonate a lot with. Okay, I look forward to meeting you sometime in the future. Anyway, so I think, one time I was in the mirror, I was like, oh, look how good I look today. And then someone said to me, I kind of laugh about it now. It's like, oh, who do you think you are? Why are you
I think
you
I'm
look so good?
I
think and then someone would be like, all right, just calm it down a little bit. I'll see you guys soon.
Yay!
Oh, sorry about that, guys.
Bye, hon. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Does anyone have any recap that they'd like to do? Shall I ask your top 3 things question? so that we can have a summary for people. So, well, let's get for each of you, and we'll be kind of brief since we've covered a lot of things here, but your top 3 things for living an unconditionally loving life. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Loving me continuously and as much as I possibly can. Taking responsibility for everything that shows up, and reaching for what I think is the highest thing right now, which is to be in the middle of contrast, find my alignment, and be in the receptive mode.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, for me, it is trusting that everything is always working out for me, and that my higher self knows where this trajectory is headed. And I don't necessarily need to know all the details, but I just know that where I'm going is where I'm going. Yeah.
Where I asked to go.
Awesome. That was one. You want to do 2 more? Or was that that is the only important one?
I get 3?
You can.
Okay.
Unless that covers all of it.
Well, I don't want to be doing ditto on Trina's, but yeah. So I feel what she just said is critical, and also the trust and knowing that that where I'm going is a good place to go.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that thing that Abe says lately that's lighted up for me, which is that our inner beings know where we stand in relationship to everything we want. Mm-hmm. So that's the rest of it is up to them. They just take care of it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Carrie, your 3 things?
I'm going with the things that are really feeling great to me right now are knowing that the only person I am accountable to is me. That works very well for me. And that I am in love with my authentic self in every stage of my journey. I love who I was when I was doing this, and this, and the results I got, even if they might be perceived as contrast. And I love where I am right now and what I'm doing. And I love the versions of me I'm on the way to. And so it's not like, even though you feel like you're getting better and better all the time, you're really just perpetually loving yourself wherever you are. That creates a lot of ease for me. And the third thing would be allowing myself to feel the fullness of any topic I'm passionate about. And so passion's really big for me, in relationships, in sensuality, in knowledge base. Just really feeling the fullness of my interest in something. And sometimes that's another person. And sometimes that's me. All the time it's me, but sometimes it's also another person. And just really allowing it to be as full as it can be. Just living my passion.
Wow.
What a wonderful interview. Go ahead, Miles.
Are you going to give yours?
My 3 are Trina's being in love with herself as a path to everything. I love the topic of unconditionality. I love the second thing would be the way that Carrie is living her life. She's such a breathtaking example of how magnificent life could be, and to say that safety doesn't mean anything, that she is so grounded in absolute well-being that safety is not even a thought. Oh my God, that rocked my world. And then the third thing, Rebecca, is that you have created a place here where I can come and get injected with something even better than heroin that makes me so high I practically levitate by hearing people like Trina and Frank and you and Carrie and Harmon. It's just mind-blowing to me. So this has really been quite the experience for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Miles. We appreciate you saying that.
Yes, we do.
And we have a lot of...
Year 3, Rebecca?
Yeah, Rebecca, you can't scoot out of this one.
All right. Let's see, my 3 would be, some overlap with you guys, but I'll say it my own way. So my number 1 would be remembering that I'm living my life for me and not for anyone else. And no matter what decisions I make, it needs to, before the final decision is made, it always has to come down to, but what do I really want? That's always the clinching question. Number 2, I love that Trina said, when you're with someone who is having an unconditional relationship with you, it gives you a permission slip. And that permission slip is not to be an asshole. It's a permission slip to know that they're going to take care of themselves on their own, no matter what you do. So that frees us up to answer that first question fully. What is it that I really want? Because it's not preventing them from what they want, and it's not being an asshole. It's figuring out what is it that I really want. And then the third piece is trusting that they can, in their own way, find their clarity and their power. And it doesn't have to be me making sure that they know what they're doing. It's just a trust that they're someone who's adult enough and mature enough that they will take care of themselves. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
So
Can I share a little? Oh, what? Oh. I wanted to just share this tiny tidbit of my travels from this week because they go along with what we've been discussing. So I went to one of the nature preserves where they're breeding the Tasmanian devil because its population is being threatened. And so they have some breeding places, and then they'll eventually be released in the wild. And so as I was listening to the presentation by the woman who caretakes for Tasmanian devils, which are quite vicious, by nature, they're very vicious. And so she was saying during the talk, the Tasmanian devil is very intriguing to watch because they're so inherently selfish. They only care in every moment about themselves. They will get their portion of food, and they will get their amount of mating, and they will get what they want. They will live where they want. They will do what they want. They will eat what they want. They will get what they want. And so for this woman to be sitting there talking about how intriguing it was to watch a species like that, I immediately felt this big flood, and I'm like, welcome to the world of law of attraction, deliberate creators, because that's what we're doing all the time. And I love that I evoked that from basically, an animal caretaker. I just love it.
we should have a whole new mascot for the Abraham group. Tasmanian devil.
It's the Tasmanian devil. Yeah, it was really fun to hear that and just get that feedback, right? That, it really is. Go for what you want because it's all available. It's so abundant. Everything you could dream of is there. And I just love that feeling and love that choosing of the preferences. It's been really great.
And I love what you're saying, Carrie, because now I know what my next life is going to be. Tasmanian devil. Why not go for it, right?
And I love that you brought up it's your own selfish desire. Not only is it there, it's available for you, but that is the only way that we're able to give back to anything, to the world, to anything. There was a Facebook something that was posted the other day about when you shine your light, you're the light that helps pull other people out of the darkness. And of course, I'm not saying that other people are in darkness as if that's a contrasting bad thing or anything, but just being able to live your alignment out loud, so to speak, is modeling behavior that other people might look at that and say, I really want that too. I want to make my life a better place this way. And that's
yeah, I agree. I mean, the lighthouse is shining brightly because it feels good for the lighthouse to shine. If it helps the ships come in the harbor, great. But, it's just that constant shining and radiating. And for me personally, why I want to be part of conversations like this, other than just to feel good, because I think it's really fun. And that's why when I saw your guys' recent post, I was like, let's talk about this, because that was a really fun, thread and a really fun manifestation that we've all created. but also just to be one of the people who is representing different backgrounds. I know, and I don't know how much people want to, make their backgrounds known. And so sometimes I'll see a post on Facebook and it is about sexuality, or it's about this, or this, and it'll say, well, I think I read one of, from you, Rebecca, from a speech you were giving, where you had stated that, you didn't have adverse experiences regarding sexuality. That's not where your background came from. And for me, I would be one of those people that Abe would say, hit the ground running. And I had those adverse experiences. And I'm thrilled to be so happy. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity for so much well-being and thriving and sensuality and pure love and wonderful affection and really generous, loving, incredible partners. And that's what I want to be a part of, because the books that were given to me, the resources that were available to me as a child, all made it sound like that was not something I could experience. And I love being part of, that contrast was phenomenal, because what better rocket of desire to say, I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this body. What better rockets of desire than that type of contrast? And then to be able to be a person who's saying, you can really have anything that you want. Doesn't matter if there's a resource out there telling you can have it. You are the person who gets to create it. And I love that. And I just think that that's really enriching. And I think anyone who's had those adverse experiences benefits from, even if you haven't had those experiences, you just benefit from hearing about what can be, what you can create, what is available. And I just think that that's priceless.
Yes. Amen.
And one of the things that that strikes me as being so incredibly powerful, Carrie, in what your experience was as the creator, you got that you evoked that from the woman that was doing the presentation. And so when we can get in alignment with, we are the creator, and what we're getting back in our life is a direct result of who we are and what we are, I think that's a really powerful place to be in.
Absolutely. I had another different experience this past week. This past week, I put myself in quite an interesting situation of being immersed with a group of people for several days in a row, where there was going to be not a lot of time by myself. There was not a lot of privacy outside of when you went to the bathroom. We were living in very close quarters together for 5 days, and they were not Abraham people or law of attraction people. They're going to be whatever I evoke, of course. And so I had this experience and was wanting to see, well, where am I with the things that I was creating? And I had a moment where I was just like, normally I'm around people who recognize that I'm amazing. I was finding myself in a position where I was not being recognized as amazing. And it was so awesome, because I stopped and I was just like, the only reason these people aren't recognizing you're amazing is because right now you don't feel amazing. So get there, and it's there. And it's also, that whole thing of, I don't need to care what anybody thinks of me anyway. I just like, feel amazing, be amazing. It's so, I love that type of thing. And so I'm having much more fun with, what I evoked from a guide at a wildlife preserve, and what I'm evoking from a question about what's going on in my life type of thing. And to me, these feel really fun. It never feels like, some might say like a setback to have that moment where you're like, oh no, I'm not feeling amazing right now. What's going wrong? And instead it was just like, oh, duh. I just forgot momentarily that I was amazing. And that was just really fun.
And one thing I like to do in those situations, because we all find ourselves there, is just follow Esther's lead. Can I just get the 4 seconds of everybody in my world in alignment? So why not have them show up in my world and the time that we interact in alignment, because it's so fun. Everybody has their alignment, and it's so fun to connect with that, Lots of times it's through music, if it's not through Abe,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Did you guys?
I love it all.
this really neat thing. We've been talking a lot about relationships and masculine and feminine energy, and this call was perfectly balanced numbers wise. 3 women, 3 men, and the perfect 6 participants. How cool was that?
Wow, it was really neat. It was really good. Well, and I thought it was really nice to have those questions presented by Harms, because he kind of came in and had a lot of questions, which I think was really fun. I wasn't sure if the person who's on the call, it looks like somebody who has called in, and so we don't really necessarily know who that person is, if they had any questions or comments or wanted to add anything. They might not.
Well, I think that feels like a pretty good ending. What do you guys? Yeah. Thank you guys.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Carrie.
So good to see you guys.
Yeah, really great. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.